What's up, Bills Mafia? Today we're going on a behind-the-scenes tour of one of the most iconic spots in Western New York, Highmark Stadium, home of our Buffalo Bills. The old Highmark Stadium, to be specific. With so many memories of our Bills, here we go. Before the tour started, we had some time to kill, so we checked out the Bills store. It has everything you can think of with the Bills theme, jerseys, hats, magnets, who knows, anything they can put a Bills logo on, it's in there. There's no better place to start our tour for the Bills Stadium than right here in Founders Plaza, next to the statue of the man who started it all, Ralph Wilson, the original owner and founder of our Buffalo Bills. Ralph Wilson was one of the original founders of the AFL back in 1960. He was more than just an owner, though. He started it all for the Buffalo Bills. He even loaned the Oakland Raiders money, like around $400,000 to keep the team and the AFL afloat. So without that, who knows what would have happened. He was never the perfect owner for the Bills, as I'm sure Bills fans would agree, sometimes meddling too much in football operations, but without him, we wouldn't have professional football in Western New York, so for that, I and all Bills fans should always be grateful. Our guided tour had around 12 to 15 people. One group was even a family all the way from England, so hello, terrible England accent. As we entered the outer part of the concourse, we got to see what the stadium is like on a quiet day. You don't truly realize how loud the place can get and how many people fill a stadium until you're really just walking around on a random morning during the spring. For our first stop on the tour, we're checking out one of the club areas, luxury seating areas. Here is the Toyota Club. Inside you've got climate-controlled lounges, some gourmet food, and some great sight lines for the field. The food options here are, like I mentioned, a little more gourmet, a little more fancy than your typical stadium food, although you do pay a premium for it. This area has a blend of luxury along with some typical football energy in it. During game day, it's packed with fans who want both that VIP experience, but also want to feel like you're part of the game. The club seats have windows that can be opened or closed, and the 200 level seats in this area have those nice heaters, which, as I'm sure we all know, it gets a little cold in December and January, so those would feel good. Alright, as we leave the club area, next up on our tour, the place where many legendary broadcasters have called memorable Bills moments. Welcome to the broadcast booth. From here, legends like Van Miller used to call the action. It's actually named after the legendary Bills announcer himself. Miller was the voice of the Bills for over 30 years. Standing in the booth, you can feel the intensity of every play that's ever been described to listeners and viewers all over the country as gorgeous sightlines for the games. The middle broadcast booth that I'm in now is actually the national broadcast booth, so that's where you'll see your CBS, NBC, ESPN crew. This is where they'll be. On each side of the national broadcast booth, you have the booth where each team's coordinators can sit. Obviously, some coordinators like to be up in the booth, some like to be down on the field, but if they're up in the booth, this is where they'll be on the sides of the national broadcast team. They have blinds, so obviously the national broadcast crew or other people can't spy in on each other, so that's taken care of. Also on this side of the field, you have a local broadcast booth, WGR 550, the local radio station in town, along with the Pagula's family suite and a couple other luxury suites. As we leave the broadcast booth, now we're going to head to the M&T Bank Club. This is another luxury space. In the distance, you can see the Bills field house over there. The field house is staying in the same place once the new stadium is finished. We didn't get to go in the field house, unfortunately, but I've heard it's pretty nice in there. Now, the M&T Bank Club is very nice. It also might be the priciest place in the stadium to watch the game, or one of the priciest. But what is included is all-you-can-eat food and drink, so if you do get in here, eat up, drink up, enjoy. So I guess that somewhat makes up for the prices. The windows are absolutely huge, and the sightlines are pretty good as well. The clubs used to be unsponsored, unlike today. They were called the Jim Kelly Club, the Paul McGuire Club, to name a few. But everything is sponsored nowadays. Teams want that money. Our tour guide said sometimes M&T will give tickets to the club away as prizes for things. I've never been that lucky, but if you're lucky enough, it'd be a pretty sweet place to watch the game. I would definitely go hard on the all-you-can-eat food and drink. That would be pretty cool. Our guide also mentioned that there'll be a good amount of club seats at the new stadium, although they don't know the exact number, so we'll see what happens there. We're leaving the M&T Bank Club, and now we're heading to the storytelling area, the press box. This is where journalists from all over the country sit to report on the highs and lows of every Bills game, and there's a lot of highs and lows that go on. Wild comebacks, snow games, this is where all the stories are written. In this area, there's actually no cheering or anything like that allowed. Journalists are obviously supposed to concentrate on their work and not take sides and be objective, but we know, of course, they do take sides and they're obviously going to root for their teams that they're covering, most likely. Our guide mentioned actually once that an intern cheered one time when the Bills scored a touchdown, and they made the poor kid leave the area. That's unfortunate. The booth is obviously more filled for primetime games and playoff games than is your typical 1 p.m. Sunday games, but it's a really nice area to watch a game. After leaving the press box, we went back around and onto the stadium concourse. Once again, it was wild to hear how quiet the stadium was. And there was a couple of other workers there and another tour group ahead of us, but other than that, that was really it. But up there in these sections are the family zones. Nothing too fancy to really anything to write home about. There's no swearing allowed, no alcohol allowed. Some people also call them the no fun zones. I'll leave that up to you. But if you have kids and you want to bring them in these areas, probably be the place to go. Bills Mafia are a rowdy bunch, but we have a great time. It's always fun. Now we're passing through one of the concession areas. No food or anything when we were on our tour, unfortunately, because it was closed, no game day. And we took a little shortcut through some stairs to what might be the coolest part of the tour, I think. We took these stairs down and now we are headed to the Bills tunnel. Highmark Stadium is kind of unique. It only has one tunnel for both teams. Media personnel, gear, and all that stuff go in and out of this one area. In the new stadium, they mentioned there are going to be multiple tunnels. I think 4 exactly. What I thought was cool, it's kind of nerdy. There's also a button in the tunnel that if you push it, the Bills Shout song plays over the loudspeakers, because, of course. Take a listen. Off the tunnel area, we have the 2 locker rooms. Let's check out the visitors' locker room first. Now, all I can say is that this locker room, the visitors' locker room, it serves its purpose. It gets the job done. You got wire hangers everywhere. Looks like cheap metal lockers from the 70s. Not the most comfy or cozy atmosphere, but that's okay. You gotta have some home field advantage when you can, right? The locker room itself also isn't in one area like a square or a rectangle. There's twists and turns, and there's lockers off over here and then over there, and then you have the main area. So it's kind of a jumbled sort of mess. The away locker room at the new stadium will no doubt be an upgrade, but don't worry, I'm sure the Bills will still have a nicer one. Really get that extra home field advantage. Also off the visitors' locker room is the visitors' media room, where they do the post-game press conferences, things like that. It honestly just felt like a giant closet. Nothing really too special. So yeah, wire hangers, 1 stool per locker. Not the friendliest locker room, but maybe that's why the Bills went undefeated at home in 2024. The other team just hated the locker room so much. And now, the locker room for our Buffalo Bills. Let's check out the Bills' home locker room. From legends like Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas to stars like Josh Allen today, this room has seen game day rituals, the motivational speeches, and unforgettable celebrations, and no doubt has some stories to tell. One that our guide mentioned was how Bruce Smith back in the day used to have his uniform so tight because he didn't like people being able to pull on his jersey. It would take multiple trainers and staff members to be able to get the jersey and the pads off after he played. Talk about a commitment. Now, the Bills do get some nicer hangers. They didn't look like wire hangers to me. And some nicer wood stools, nice little polish on them or something. And a nice polished wood locker. It's not the most modern or high-tech locker room, especially when you look at some of those college locker rooms like Alabama or these fancy SEC schools have. But it's a stark contrast to the visitors' locker room. And the Bills logo is taped off, no stepping on the Bills logo, of course. I found it interesting how in the Bills locker room even, there isn't enough lockers for everyone. Some people have to share, but I'm sure in the new stadium, that'll all be worked out. And of course, in here you have the token Pepsi fridge with Pepsi products, including plenty of Gatorade. In the corners of the locker room, there are different words that when put together spell out the acronym HEART. That was Coach Sean McDermott's idea. We're leaving the locker room. The Bills have their own sort of mini tunnel that is away from the main tunnel. Here you have all the rules that players have to follow, as well as the Defend Our Dirt sign. Worked pretty well in 2024. But it's pretty cool to walk through the same place the Bills do when they take the field. On the way to the field is the Bills media room. This is where they do all the post-game press conferences, coaches and players, things like that. Again, much nicer than the visitors media room. One thing I did notice was I also found was funny that on the one TV in that room, The Price is Right was playing. Don't know why, but come on down. Once we leave the media room, we exit and head back to the mini tunnel, which after a few more steps rejoins the main tunnel, and bam, you look out and you see the field. Here's the view. This is what it's all about. Stepping onto the field where the Bills play on Sundays, or Mondays, sometimes Thursdays, who knows. There's nothing quite like it. Standing on the field, you realize just how massive and electric this place gets on game day. 70,000 fans screaming, most of them probably drunk, the wind cutting across the field. It's raw, it's real, just like Buffalo. It honestly felt like a fever dream sort of stepping out on the field. I even had to do a mini run out of the tunnel like I was in a movie. We got to spend a good 10 to 15 minutes, I'd say, out on the field. I don't really remember though, it was all quite a blur. Now, the new field's going to be grass instead of turf, and our guide said they don't think people are going to be allowed on the field as much as they are now. So many memories on this field for so many people, and now I have one to take away too. We walked back up the tunnel and got into the employee elevator into this sort of employee back room, before then exiting to the same concession area where we were before when we took the stairs down to the tunnel. We walked around the concourse outside the seating area for a little bit more. Pretty sad to think that this place will soon be no more. They're going to be tearing this down when the new stadium opens. Quite sad to think about, but it is what it is. We exit the stadium and now we work our way back towards the Bills store. One thing I didn't know was that there is actually an old cemetery right outside of the gates to the stadium. It's called the Sheldon Family Cemetery, and it has burials mostly from the 1800s, and is still maintained by a member of the family. Hopefully that isn't the reason the Bills seem to be cursed. We end up back by the Bills store to end our tour. The tour lasted for about an hour and a half, and it was absolutely incredible. We'll never forget it. It was absolutely amazing. The new Bills Stadium is set to open soon, ushering in a new era for the team and the fans. But no matter how shiny and fancy it is, it doesn't quite have the soul and the character that this place does right here at what I call the Ralph. And that's our tour of Highmark Stadium. From the press box to the 50-yard line and everywhere in between. From history to the present and to the future, this place is really more than just football. It's a part of Buffalo's history. It's part of Buffalo's identity. Definitely want to miss this place. Before you go, leave a comment on what you call the Bills Stadium. Do you call it Highmark, the Ralph, Rich Stadium? To me, it'll always be the Ralph, but you let me know what you call it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more sports content in the future. I'll see you in the next one, and go Bills!